Tystnad, tagning.
Hello and welcome to this digital installment of Copenhagen Fashion Week, recorded live at A House in Stockholm. My name is Johan Wirfält. I'm a journalist and a cultural director at Kulturhuset Stadsteatern in Stockholm. This series of talks is called Small Talks, Big Conversations, and our focus is on how tech can nurture change in fashion. Among other things, we will discuss social media and online activism and how that is driving progress and inclusion and opening up an industry that is in many ways still characterized by conformity. But today we'll talk about something that you really can't escape when it comes to fashion, which is buying stuff. The fashion industry is now facing a shift in how products are being consumed and delivered, which will further push the development of the convergence between digital and physical. So the title of this talk is Tech to Nurture Direct Sales, and here to discuss this topic with me is Diego Fria.
Hi there.
Hi Diego, welcome. So you're e-commerce director at the Swedish fashion house Totême. You hail from Buenos Aires, and before working with Totême you were at Monocle and Philippa K, among other places.
Yes.
So I mean, let's kick things off. And first of all, can you just, for any viewers who might not know, can you tell us a little bit about Totême?
Yes, Totême is a New York-founded, Stockholm-based fashion house, founded by Elin Kling and her husband Carl, and been around for 5 years.
And how would you sort of describe the brand, the style, the aesthetics?
It's a brand that we work on bringing uniforms to people, to women, and we focus on quality and great design.
Mm-hmm. So you have a long experience from online fashion retail, and you're also a strong advocate for using tech to nurture what we call a direct-to-consumer strategy. So just to get a little bit more into it, what are the main differences between a direct-to-consumer strategy and something which is more traditional retailing or e-tailing, as I guess?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference is the distribution channels and the relationship with the consumer. So a company that is more traditional would have quite regular traditional ways of doing wholesale, for example, working with resellers and other types of companies and retailers like that. But also it's a lot about outsourcing the relationship with the consumer. So many traditional companies will work really hard on developing the products, developing the marketing, but then at the sort of point of sale, point of purchase, outsource that to somebody else or another company. And a DTC company would work really hard and would leverage technology to own that relationship and that distribution channel.
And has this been the Totême strategy from day one, or is it something that you're sort of implementing now?
Yeah, good question. So Totême has worked from the beginning in a more modern way, to a great degree because it's a very new brand. But I know that the founders always emphasize the relationship with the consumer and the customers. So for us, it's really important to own the relationship, but we don't necessarily, cut out wholesalers. We work with very selected resellers and retailers, and I think that's a big difference as well. I don't believe that DTC means skipping wholesale, but it's about being really selective who you work with, and also how they relate and talk to their consumers.
So the goal is not to sort of move all sales directly to your own platforms?
Correct. I believe it's all about the mix. If you have a good mix, if you know who you work with, if you know how they work with the customers, then I think you're on a good path.
So you're talking a lot about building the sort of direct relation to the consumer and the customer. Then can you give us some examples of how you do that at Totême? And I mean, what does DTC mean to you in practice?
Yes, I would say in general, DTC companies that want to nurture a good relationship with customers would offer exclusives, would offer killer customer service, would really focus on the overall experience from product design to the delivery of the products, and also about developing the brand experience and the quality of the offering, really.
So for a company like Totême, then, or any company working following this strategy, basically, what are the biggest challenges?
There are quite a few. Of course, it's very competitive. So you are competing for customers, right? And there are just a few platforms where to find these customers. So it is competitive. Cost of acquisition can be high, not lately though, but in general. And also tech. Tech is a bit of an investment for many newer companies trying to compete with companies that have bigger budgets for tech.
And
resources in general, employees included and colleagues, etc.
Because I mean, you're the expert here. I don't know anything about it. So do you have to sort of build this like your sales platform from the ground up, or are there sort of frames you can use and build from, or how does that work?
Yeah, so that
not to get too technical. But
no, fair enough. That's a big question, and that's a question that all companies grapple with. There are different ways to approach it, and how you approach it sometimes will determine success or failure. But there are specific tech choices that a company can make to be able to stay agile and lean and just launch as fast as possible and really have control of that relationship with the consumer.
And so what you're saying are there like certain ways of working that helps you going through this? I mean, I know you're talking about like tech stacks and sort of reaching like a DTC mindset. Can you elaborate a little on that? What does that actually mean?
Yeah, I believe it's about speed and quality, right? You want to launch fast, but you want it to be of high quality. So that is a very difficult balance to strike, because also, companies, they have limited budgets and limited resources. So you want to be able to approach it in a way that you have the best partners, the best tech partners. And that, for me, that means the type of companies that work with DTC companies already, rather than legacy tech companies. I'm not mentioning any companies, but you want to be able to work with companies and tech partners that share your philosophy, which is that DTC mindset.
And so then if you sort of look at it from the other side, I mean the consumer perspective, what do you think is what's the big difference? I mean, let's say buying something directly from you or from, I don't know, Net-a-Porter. I mean, is there a huge difference, and what would the difference be?
Yeah, good question. So we work with Net-a-Porter, and I think Net-a-Porter specifically is a great example of a company that really strives to develop to nurture that relationship. I think from the consumer side, it's all about the consumer. The DTC strategy is really centered around the consumer. So the consumer, they want quality, they want convenience, they want speed, price, and we have a very demanding consumer. So we need to make sure that we live up to that expectation. So for us, it's about delivering on that promise.
Yeah, and how can you do that? I mean, if you can get a little bit more like specific, because I just assume that you have to build quite a big sales organization to be able to sort of keep product flow going and stuff. So
yeah, the good thing is that you're able to deliver a good experience these days without investing tons of money in tech. But I think it's about specific touches. Could be, as I said earlier, exclusives. It could be very caring customer experience. It could be, developing specific products that we can sell through our own channel. So yeah, there are different ways that you can achieve that, but these are the things that many DTC companies would do as well.
And now we're here we're not actually at Copenhagen Fashion Week, since we're so digital these days. So we're in Stockholm and broadcasting at Copenhagen Fashion Week. But do you think that are we seeing somewhere in the near or distant future a sort of DTC revolution where this type of sales or these strategies will slowly replace more traditional retailing or more modern e-tailing?
Good question. I really see it as a revolution. I think Europe has been a bit late to it, and now it's catching up quite fast. And COVID really accelerated that process. So definitely, I mean, in the US and also in the UK, there has been just massive change in the last maybe 5-8 years. And Europe is catching up fast of this new way of retailing and talking to the consumers.
So if you look at it on a general level and that development, let's say then in the US, do you have any idea of sort of how big a part of sales has moved from retail to more DTC?
Yeah, imagine that big retailers like Macy's, they tons of retailers in the US, they really struggle where and you can easily find newer, younger companies that are DTC that work on it under a DTC strategy, and they're just growing massively. So you can really see that shift, that consumer shift from traditional to direct to consumer. I think people just want great experiences, and they want a more personal care rather than a sort of more monolithic approach to lifestyle in general.
Yeah, and so what do you think this means for the fashion industry, or maybe rather the sort of traditional structures of the fashion industry? Because hypothetically, do we even need fashion weeks if all the brands are communicating directly with the consumers and also doing sales without any middlemen?
Yeah, good question. That's a tricky one, but I would say that it's all
about... Try to be politically correct now. So
yes, I'll try my best. No, but definitely, I think it's about, I mean, this is a period of change, and it's really about reassessing the purpose, your purpose, whether it's your purpose as a company, your purpose as a professional, and your purpose as a fashion week, experience. And I think that is very important that we reflect on the current situation, and that we pivot if needed, and that we adapt fast if needed. You see that that COVID really accelerated that change, and I think this is a good example of a pivot that many fashion weeks should be taken. And just to sort of close things off, if you're saying that COVID have accelerated this development, for people who are not so well versed with it, are there like any brands or that you would like to recommend, just for people who want to sort of get a few good examples? I mean, Totême, of course, them, but are there other ones? Yes, check Totême. I think Gani, great example. They've been working at it for many years. But then in the US, you would have companies like Allbirds, they sell shoes, Bombas, they sell socks. And I know that it sounds random, but they are great examples of direct-to-consumer brands that are growing fast. And they're really challenging traditional established brands.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Diego, for
having me,
for being here. And thank you to everyone who's been watching. Please come back. We're doing this all week, all Copenhagen Fashion Week, small talks, big conversation, and tune in again soon. Thank you.